views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to BronxTalk. We have just completed a debate series in the Borough of the Bronx, and you're probably aware of it, that we did 9 debates for 9 of the races in the Democratic primary for city council, actually 8 for city council and 1 for borough president. And we also became aware that it's a very unusual thing because it hasn't happened in my memory in a very long time, maybe ever, that there were 2 Republican candidates running for 1 seat. So we thought it was important. I mean, even Republicans are essentially only 6% of the registered voters in the Bronx, but those 6% should have their representation. And the BronxNet TV feels strongly about voter literacy. So this evening on BronxTalk, we're going to present those 2 candidates to you. Technically, only Republican voters will be able to vote for them in the primary, but the one of them we presume will, accede to the of general election in November. But let's deal with first things first, and let's say good evening to a former New York City licensed scaffolder construction worker, Aramis Ocasio. Nice to have you with us, Mr. Ocasio.
Great. Good to be here. Thank you so much to BronxNet, and thank you to you, Gary, as well.
No problem. We're pleased to have you. A published author, an active community advocate, and dedicated public servant. It is Mr. Ariel-Rivera Diaz. Mr. Rivera Diaz, nice to have you with us.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Gary.
Thank you so much. I want to just start off. Listen, there's no question that Democrats, there are many more Democrats in the Bronx than Republicans. The last Republican elected official in the Bronx was Guy Villela, who left office in 2004, 17 years ago. In a borough where, and this will be for you first, Mr. Ocasio, where initiatives like immigrant rights, greater access to healthcare, housing subsidies are all priorities for the people of the Bronx. And right now there's a youthful wave of progressive-leaning representatives of every level of government in the state. We presume it's going to be in the city council as well. Why should the 15th council district have a Republican? So that's you, Mr. Ocasio, and then we'll let Mr. Rivera Diaz answer it as well.
Okay, I believe here in New York City we're doing a great job with a lot of a lot of programs that we have going on. But it's about economic conservation, being economically conservative, and understanding that the Republican Party is about being more conservative when it comes to our policies, when it comes to our way of governing. We don't want to just frugalously keep spending hundreds of thousands or even millions of New York City's tax-paying dollars going to programs that we know Democrats have been funding for years that could really use a flip. And I know that it's been 20 years, 30 years since this district has had a Republican representative. I feel I'm a little different. I can work with both sides of the park. I can work with both sides of the fence here. And we need to be more welcoming. As the Republicans get a little bit of a harsher rap here in New York City, but we're welcoming. We're here for all the voters. We're here for all everyone coming into New York City, and I feel our party is going to do the best we can to give every single person a good representative in City Hall that looks out for all the voters and every single person and all new groups of people that are coming into New York City, past and present. So that's what I wanted to really, yeah.
Great. Let's let Mr. Rivera Diaz weigh in on the same question.
Yeah, so for years, for decades, we've been under the same leadership, under the same ideals for decades, like I mentioned before. And we haven't seen any of the change that they have been constantly promising us for all the election cycles. So now the question lies here. Where are those changes? Where is affordable housing? Where is the lower crime rate? So now why I am running is due to the fact of those questions. The people have questions, but no answers. There is no action being executed from our leadership. And we have the same leadership time and time again for the simple fact that people are basically powerless because they have no knowledge. They have no knowledge because they don't know that they have options. There is a Republican option that would like to bring back individualism to the Bronx.
When you say individualism, what do you mean by that?
Essentially, that government involvement in our lives have increased throughout the years. We have government trying to increase taxes, specifically state tax and city tax. We have a constant barrage of voters thinking that government is going to better their lives on a daily basis. But that should not be the case. The people who have the power to change their lives are the people themselves, the community, because the community are the only catalysts to change.
I want to ask each of you this, and then we'll get into some specific local issues. And I think it's important, especially given the nature of politics in the Bronx and, of course, throughout the nation. Do you? Let's start with you, Mr. Rivera Diaz. Do you support the Republican national agenda? Do you think the presidential election was fixed? Do you support the new voting rights bills that would limit voting access in a number of states that are led by Republican legislatures? Should there be a 9/11 commission to investigate the January 6th insurrection on the Capitol? Would you have voted for the infrastructure plan? Let's just lay that out there, and then we'll break it down with local issues. Mr. Rivera Diaz, you can be first.
Essentially, a election has to be fair and honest. And right now, with the current audit that's happening in Arizona, in I believe Maricopa County, that shows that honesty trying to be shown to light. It shows that elections are going to be investigated if the people believe that the election was fixed. Now, for the second question, can you remind me of the second question, please?
It's been clear from all the studies of the Arizona vote that there was no widespread fraud. Where the people asked the question, So I can appreciate that you said that, but so you're still. It sounds like you're still concerned that there was some fraud in the national election.
Not essentially fraud. I believe that there was some sort of glitch or some sort of miscommunication amongst the ballot scanners. Now, these investigations opened up those questions, and now we're getting the answers that the American people would like to hear.
You don't think that all the lawsuits, and I forget what the number was, 30 judges said that the election wasn't, they've already investigated that. You don't think that's sufficient, that we still need to keep talking about this?
We still need to be talking about it.
And then the other thing was about the insurrection. Do you think that there should be a 9/11 style commission for that to study that insurrection?
No.
You don't believe there should be?
No.
Okay. Do you want to say why, or?
Basically, it's again, it's just they're trying to redefine what a Republican is in the United States. For far too long, the Republican Party has been defined as a racist, homophobic party. But essentially, when it comes to city and local politics, we're very diverse in those fields. We have some people who believe that they're social conservatives. We have other people who are more socially, financially conservative. So essentially, what we need to do as Republicans in New York City, specifically in the Bronx, is to redefine what a Republican is here.
Mr. Ocasio, do you want to address some of those issues?
I stand behind the National Board of National Voting Board of Elections. I stand behind them. Whatever happened during this past election, I'm fully on forward with where we're going. I look forward to 2024. That's why I took the path to become a Republican candidate, to try to grow some awareness to getting more voters to the polls. So that's why I became a Republican, because I felt like maybe we could have just used more votes. I know that there was a couple investigations that were done in the Midwest concerning lost ballots, But I think it's just time to keep going. There's not much we can do now for our party. We just have to stay strong. We have to keep believing in what we do. I believe in Trump. I do think he was a great person. He's still a great person. But I believe that it's time to keep going. There's other Republicans, such as Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, other great Republicans we can look at and towards to try to look for some leadership at this time. I believe that when Trump was up for impeachment in January, it was a very crucial time for our party because it showed that we either stand together or we have a division. And what happened there was, I believe Mitt Romney did vote to impeach Trump, and I did not stand for that because I want to see unification between our party and we have to just keep moving forward. As for what happened on the Capitol riots, as a former scaffolder, which is very funny, I looked into everything, and when they did go to I don't believe Trump's rhetoric at all incited a riot. I just believe the voters that were there showed their disagreements with our political system, and they tried to take what was a normal after every election. Usually this is a normal hearing that they have to just count the votes and move on. Every vice president goes through this. And it was a little bit unnerving to hear some of them saying some stuff towards our vice president. So even if they were Republican, I don't stand for that. But I don't believe there should be any. I feel bad for the people that did get arrested because they were just trying to show their patriotism towards our political system again. But there's not much we can do at this point. There was already judgment called. There were proceedings and hearings at the Capitol after what happened, and I just want to see that every politician is safe and that we keep going, and that in 2024 we do see a Republican come back strong, and whether it be Ted Cruz or whether it be someone else, I'm here to stand with my party, and I'm here to move forward.
I just have to say, you can't rewrite history. These people attacked the Capitol. I mean, the Capitol building. It's not like it was just like they were protesting or anything like that. They tried to stop the proceedings of the legal proceedings of the United States Congress, and they had, and not to mention that 6 officers died. I mean, we don't need to get into this now.
And I'm so sorry to hear that. I've spoken with many people.
But you're sorry for the people who were arrested, not sorry for
sorry for the people that were hurt. I'm sorry. I spoke with an officer back when 2 days ago when I went to go vote, and I told him I felt so bad for everyone, for all the authority figures, police officers that were the Capitol police officers that were working there. I felt so sorry that anyone was injured or had to lose their life due to political disagreements.
Got it. Look, I do want to move on. Listen, we can debate that for a long time, but I want to talk about some local issues. You had said, as a construction worker, this was at the forum, I believe, that Politics New York held. As a construction worker for 6 to 7 years, I'm here to build infrastructure. Would you have supported the Biden infrastructure plans that so far have not passed? And if you wouldn't support, how are you going to build infrastructure in the borough of the Bronx?
This towards me?
Yes, because that was a quote from you.
I'm with Biden's infrastructure plan. I'm with anything that gives back to our communities. I know Biden's infrastructure plans is backed by green bonds, which I also think is a good initiative. So I'm hoping to see more infrastructure being built in our neighborhoods for the lower income, disabled, and elderly. And so I'm with that because I understand. I worked under the Obama administration, so I saw how New York City was becoming more of a developed city under the Obama administration. And like I said, I stand for developing, and I also stand for building in our city because I understand how important it is to get some people out of the shelters and to get some people out of the nursing homes.
Thank you. I want to give Mr. Rivera Diaz a chance to, let's talk about that. Let's talk about infrastructure. Did you like the Biden proposal? And if not, how do you physically rebuild New York City if you were a council member?
Well, personally, politically and from a political standpoint, I did not like Biden's infrastructure bill, given the fact that it seems as if it's going to be used very irresponsibly by the states and the cities. as we saw during the stimulus bill that was given to each of the states, again, it was used very irresponsibly. So now, as city council member, I believe that what we need to do is improve what we have, because currently as a city, and not, well, as a whole city, but specifically as a borough, we are overbuilt. We can't continue to build buildings and expect rent prices to go down. That just doesn't work that way. Again, affordable housing has been promised, affordable housing has not happened. And when in the cases that they did happen, it did not lower rent. So what we need to do is improve our roads, improve our buildings, improve NYCHA, and improve our employment system at the moment. Because when we begin to improve those sectors, we begin to open up jobs.
Let's just review that for a second. How do you improve our roads? How do you improve all those things that you said without infrastructure money?
Again, it has to be overseen. And you can't just give money away and just expect the states and leaders to use them in an efficient manner.
I see. So your thing is a matter of efficiency, not necessarily the dollar amount.
Yes.
Interesting. Let's talk about another issue that I know both of you are concerned about, and it came up in our Democratic debate in the 15th Council District, and that's poverty. So this will be first for you, Mr. Rivera Diaz. The Bronx is the only county in New York State where households earn less than $40,000 a year. 30% of Bronx County residents live below the poverty line, which is the largest share of any of New York's 62 counties. We're emerging from the pandemic, but food lines are still long. Of course, no one here could think any of this is acceptable, and this has numerous implications on many aspects of life in the city and in the northernmost borough of the Bronx. So what are the issues that you see that hold people back financially? And if you are elected to the city council, how would you address them?
One thing that I see the lack of is vocational schools and vocational training. Vocational schools are a very important central point for our educational system, given the fact that it prepares our future workers and our future students to have a career and to build their own business. For example, for one, I went to Bronx Center for Science and Mathematics, and there they taught me and they had opportunities to engage in engineering. And now those students that I knew that participated in the after-school program now have bachelor degrees in engineering. So we need more of those extracurricular activities in our schools, which is one, as city council member, I'm going to propose inter-school extracurricular activities, meaning that if Bronx Center for Science and Mathematics offers engineering, but for example, hypothetically speaking, Bronx Science does not, students from Bronx Science will receive transportation to Bronx Center for Science and Mathematics to receive that extracurricular activity.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Mr. Ocasio, your thoughts?
We have to keep our cities residents first. We have to keep our Americans first. What I mean by this is our city is constantly getting flooded by thousands of immigrant groups, migrants, every single day, taking many jobs away from good Americans. I worked in construction. I understand this. These are high-paying jobs, high-skilled jobs. I did not go to any trade schools to learn how to be a scaffolder. I worked firsthand, and it was a good-paying job. Many Americans could use this. Many Americans could use a job in the restaurant field that currently is being placed towards migrant workers because they receive people feel like they could pay less. We have to put our people first, our Americans first, our New York City residents first. And that's how we start getting in there. These jobs that are constantly being flooded by migrants and immigrants are taking away from our hardworking Americans. I still want to have jobs for migrant workers, but we have to bring some awareness to economic opportunity, and also if the influx of our system is being taken, most jobs are being taken away from non-U.S. citizens. How can we get out of poverty if there is no work, and we all have to turn to SNAP assistance, or we have to turn to HRA, or we have to turn to these programs that give very meagerly, and then we live in societies, or we live in neighborhoods that don't encourage people to work. We need more. So yeah.
Let me just interject. It's hard to leave that dialogue, especially in the borough of the Bronx. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we have many undocumented people here. What do you do with those people now? Do you deport them all? What do you do with them? I mean, they're
We
here.
seek to get them citizenship. We seek to get them citizenship, or we have to start speaking directly with in city council about this sort of rhetoric, because it has been exploited. And if we don't do something about it, then many New Yorkers, surrounding areas, and people who come to New York seeking good work are going to be left disenfranchised. And that can I'm just saying, they come here, they grow families, and we already have families, people, good American families that have been here for a long time. And what's left is to join the military, which I support our military, but we want to keep people safe, and we want to still grow the military. We want to be responsible.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to make sure we have time for Mr. Rivera Diaz to weigh in on that same question, and then we'll follow up, because everybody wants to talk about crime. So let's deal with you to talk about what do you do with the undocumenteds who are here in the Bronx?
Essentially,
Mr. Rivera Diaz, go ahead.
So quite a handful of undocumented workers in New York City are paying taxes. They're either recipients of TPS, or they're willfully paying taxes out of their own pocket, when, again, it's not necessary to, but they still are. So for those people who are in our records as taxpayers who are under the status of undocumented will receive residency, because it is a duty, again, this is currently, I have my own views on taxes, but it is a duty of every American to pay taxes. Who are we to be a debt collector to the undocumented immigrant? Who are we?
So what are you saying, that they shouldn't pay taxes?
What I'm saying is that for the undocumented people who are paying taxes, just like every other American, should receive residency. For those who are not, they will be placed under vigilance until they begin to pay taxes, or else we have laws. Until they begin paying taxes, they will be basically overseen.
Overseen?
Yes. So basically, we will give them opportunities to obviously educate them, because that's one thing that our borough does not have, is a lack of knowledge. So first, we'll hold workshops, financial workshops, that will educate undocumented immigrants who are working, who are not paying, to incite them to pay taxes.
Let's talk about crime. So for you, Mr. Ocasio, crime is up, shootings are up, hate crimes are up, quality of life issues like jet engine-like exhaust from cars plague quiet Bronx neighborhoods in the middle of the night. Many Bronx communities, on top of that, have deep-seated resentment of the NYPD that goes back generations. How do we address criminal justice issues and at the same time regain trust of the police and certainly keep police officers motivated to do their jobs?
Well, I want to take care of our police department. I believe they do a great job, that they are trying, that everybody who signs up for the NYPD to work as a lifelong police officer is giving a duty, and that we have to take care of the police just because they do keep our neighborhoods as safe as they can. Now, as to address the local stigma, I would say with the NYPD and the Bronx and our urban sectors, it's unprecedented. We have a lot of what I like to say is many people go to jail every single day for no real reason. And it's
no real reason.
No, I say no real reason. Like, just low-level offenders. Low-level offenders. But as for guns, we need to start working more at a state level. It's a real problem that we have Pennsylvania. We have other states around us that permit the sale of firearms, and it could be easily smuggled back into our neighborhoods, creating massive inflates of violence. So we need to start targeting our what I like to call the gun initiative, and that starts with the police commissioner's office. That starts with us.
Well, there's, of course, the iron pipeline. And of course, what you're saying conflicts with a traditional Republican ideology that wants to, keep hands off guns. So just a word about that, and then Mr. Rivera Diaz can wave in.
I just want to see I want to bring down violent crimes, and I want to try to start bringing safer neighborhoods. I know that it's not the most Republican thing to back up, but we're living in a state where we can't see any more people, our family members, our loved ones and our friends get hurt anymore due to this stuff.
Got it. Mr. Rivera Diaz, let's talk about crime and how do we address it, and the NYPD in the Bronx.
Well, for one thing, the crime is obviously being more viewed in the media. It's being reported more. Now, the thing with violent crime is that for violent criminals, we arrest them and then we let them go. Now, there was a case, I'm not too sure on the specifics, but there was a case of a 16-year-old male who was released 3 times by the same judge.
We got about a minute before we're going to do closing statements, so you can finish up and then we'll do our closing statements.
Who was released 3 times by the same judge. And therefore, that same day when he was released, he went and shot a father of 2. So now we need to be more stricter when it comes to sentencing, and we have to be basically bail reform is not working in New York City. It's actually causing more harm than good. So what we need to do as a city, we need to be more harsh on sentencing. We need to have a zero tolerance policy on violent crime. And we also need to take out NYPD seriously because they are there to serve. And if we all come together and we educate ourselves and begin to build knowledge on what our local precincts can do for the community, then only there, the people will come together with the NYPD to fight crime.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Listen, there's many issues. We could do 2 hours here if we had the time for it. But we want to give each of you a chance to summarize. We'll give you 1 minute, 60 seconds to summarize your candidacy. Again, we have the Republican candidates who are running in the 15th Council District. Republicans, when they go to the polls in the 15th, can vote for either one in the primary election on June 22nd. Mr. Ocasio, you're first.
Okay. Thank you to all the Republican voters that I met throughout my campaign process. Excuse me. I want to say thank you to all the Republican voters I met through my campaign process again. You're all great. I'm happy for the support. You're all lovely. I'm happy to meet. Happy to keep meeting with everyone. I want to once again thank everyone that did show great support and is going to come out vote June 22nd.
Got about 15 seconds left. Go ahead.
Or in the early primary votes. And we just look forward to keep moving on. I hope you heard some of the issues that we spoke about here and that you see that Republicans are moving forward and that we're going to try the best to do what we have to do for the Bronx. So I'm Aramis J. Ocasio and I'm a Republican for the Bronx. Thank you.
Mr. Rivera Diaz, go to it.
My name is Ariel-Rivera Diaz, and I'm the Republican candidate for the 15th City Council District in the Bronx. Upon graduating high school, I saw the importance of community service, which is why I started my career as a community health worker between Somos Community Care and Evelyn Health. Serving those 4 years actually showed me that healthcare is a central issue in the Bronx. Next, my next career field is now currently the Board of Elections.
15 seconds.
Supporting voters' rights, making sure that voters understand the ranked choice voting system, because I believe that knowledge is power. And with that power, we could be the candidates to real change.
Thank you very much, Aramis Ocasio and Ariel-Rivera Diaz, Republican candidates for the 15th Council District. Thank you for joining us this evening. Folks, for more information, go to vote.nyc. All eligible voters, Republicans, Democrats, everybody, come out to vote on June 22nd. Good night.